Hello, everyone in YouTube world and IG land. It's Makeda Voletta, also known as the Body Scientist, and I am live on IG and live on YouTube. Um, Today, I want to talk to you about some nutrition stuff, right? Traditional foods. So, in case you are unfamiliar with who I am or my background, I have a Bachelor of Science in exercise and sports science with a minor in nutrition. But I started off in biotechnology, so a lot of chemistry, organic chemistry, biochemistry, genetic engineering type stuff. And then I went to graduate school for applied physiology and nutrition at Columbia University. And I'm a sports nutritionist certified by the International Society for Sports Nutrition. And I'm also a strength and conditioning specialist, so an exercise physiologist. So nutrition, like what we eat and what we do physically, they they intermingle. So just studying one without the other, they're extremely complementary. They work together in terms of the outcomes with our bodies. And so even though I am a sports nutritionist, if you follow me on Instagram, you will notice, or on YouTube, but you'll notice like you don't see me posting. Most trainers, you'll see them posting protein powders and these meal replacement shakes and these meal bars and all these like supplemented processed foods. A lot of salads, stuff like that. A lot of them might even be on some vegan, or they're eating a bodybuilding diet like skinless chicken breast with no fat and brown rice and broccoli with no fat. Like those are the kind of things I see them post. But if you notice, with me, you see me post a lot of ice cream, a lot of butter, I definitely, like I cook my vegetables in fat. Like if I cook spinach, I cook it with a lot of butter. So, like a breakfast for me, a lot of times if I'm cooking it, will be eggs from the farm. So pasture eggs and cooked in a lot of grass-fed butter with sea salt and some herbs and pepper. And bacon, pasture bacon from a farm. And I'll cook my potatoes in the bacon fat with maybe some garlic and peppers and onions or something, and maybe some avocado on the side. And when you eat stuff like that amount of fat, it's like you're not hungry all the time, right? So anyhow, I want to talk about traditional foods, because those of you who follow me, you know that I have spoken out a lot against veganism and that type of thing. And I have videos that I've done from years ago where I analyzed veganism and vegetarianism from a variety of standpoints, okay? Because yes, I do believe in science, but I always say that science has not confirmed anything that we didn't already know, okay? So there are things that indigenous people already know that science confirms, right? Um, but when you look at traditional diets, and when I say, if you look at the healthiest, longest living people in the world currently, or in the past, because when we get told that people are living longer now than we ever have before, um, a lot of people, we're being told that we're living longer now than we ever have before, but that's actually not true. Archaeological evidence and stuff doesn't show something different. And depending on what part of the world we're talking about, that has shifted, depending on what part of the world we're talking about. In the Americas, in North America, it's, post-colonialism, when the diets of Native Americans was changed. And with African slaves, in North America, because the slave trade ended very early. Okay, the slave trade, not slavery, the slave trade of fresh Africans coming to the Americas ended pretty early in that process, and there was not the smallest percentage of Africans were brought to North America in the transatlantic slave trade. So, despite what a lot of Black people say when they say that, oh, we ate chitlins and we ate that because that was, they just wanted to feed us like the worst parts of the animal. It's actually not true, because slave masters were trying to get more slaves, they wanted slaves to reproduce. They didn't want to have sickly, because this wasn't Brazil or other parts of the Americas where Africans were coming in by the droves for a long ass time. And so there was a surplus. And so that's why slavery was harsher even in Brazil, harsher in Haiti, very harsh in Haiti. And there was so many Africans. And that's how the Haitian Revolution was possible, because the Africans way outnumbered the white people on the island of Haiti as compared to here in North America. So the type of thing that took place in Haiti could not have taken place here in North America because of the percentage of white to black, right? So the thing is that eating organ meats, eating chitlins, I was talking to my Mexican friend, Pankazani, who I talk about all the time. She lives in Long Beach, California. And when I was telling her about chitlins, Afro-Americans eating chitlins, she said, "Oh, that sounds like menudo," which is the same thing Mexicans eat. And what you notice when you look around the world, all people ate organ meats, okay? I don't care if it was Native Americans, Africans, talk to your African friends, they eat organ meats. Asians, Polynesians, organ meats were extremely nutrient dense. The brains, the eyeballs. I always talk about my Caribbean friends, right? All my Caribbean friends who grew up, I have friends from Haiti and Jamaica who grew up eating fish head soup, right? And they would eat the eyeballs. And their eyesight is perfect. And my eyesight is not perfect. I'm damn near blind. But I have a video about that on my YouTube page about vitamin A and eyesight. Which is very important. I go more in depth about that. But the most potent source of vitamin A is the eyeball. That's number one, right? Because true vitamin A is called retinol, and retinol is stored in our retina. There are stories of Native Americans feeding deer eyeballs to white colonizers who were going blind in the woods. They gave them deer eyeballs, right? But actually science backs that up, because it's true that most vitamin A is stored in our eyes, and vitamin A in the eyeball. And it can only be gotten from animal fats. And the other really good sources of vitamin A are liver, egg yolks, of course, healthy pasture-raised chickens. Because the food that I'm talking about, I'm never talking about food from the commercial food industry. So I'm never talking about food from Walmart, or if you're in New York, Seatown, or some cheapy, no. When I talk about eggs, when I talk about bacon, when I talk about potatoes, whatever it is, I'm talking about stuff from farmers markets, stuff that's, grass fed from a farm. If it's chickens, or if it's pork, it's from pastures, not from the commercial food industry. So that's a given. And when you have food that is not from the commercial food industry, because commercial food industry food is toxic, no matter whether it's plant or animal. It's not just the animal foods. The plant foods are just as bad, if not worse. So it's always better to get your food from local sources, and try to go to local farmers markets and stuff. So that's just a given. So, but the thing is that, people all over the world, the Middle East, eat organ meats. The other thing is dairy. You see there's a lot of people who say they have all these theories of oh, milk is pus, and why do humans consume dairy after being a baby, and humans are the only animals that do that. I would also say that humans are the only animals that wear jewelry and wear clothes and get on airplanes and drive cars. Humans are the only ones that do a lot of things, right? But the fact of the matter is, you have populations all around the world, including in Africa, okay, including in the Middle East, that consume raw dairy. Okay, there are a lot of Africans, West and Eastern and Central, who consume raw dairy. I just found out that Mongolian diet is extremely high in dairy from horses, cows, and another animal, right? You have the Maasai, who just basically consumed, raw milk and raw blood. Okay, so people consume what was around them. People who lived in the desert, a lot of desert people did consume a lot of camel's milk. Okay, because what plants are you going to eat in the desert? You know, there's not a lot to eat in the desert, so a lot of them would survive off of camel's milk. Um, and so when you look at the longest living, healthiest populations in the world right now, you have the Okinawa in Japan. Okay, they cook with lard every single day. Okay, they consume a lot of seafood because seafood is really important, especially when it's coming from a good source. And that's the thing about seafood, because not all seafood is good, you know, and a lot of people make tilapia. I mean, there's so many restaurants where on the menu it'll say like, um, it'll say, you know, fish and chips, you know, fried fish, you know, or just say fish. It doesn't say what kind of fish. And a lot of times when I ask people, fish taco, but it doesn't say what kind of fish. A lot of times when I ask, it is tilapia. Tilapia is garbage. Okay. Um, so the thing is that there's somebody that everybody should know about. You know, like I always like to give references and books and things for you all to do your own research outside of what I'm talking about. And I'm very picky with my sources. Okay, so definitely, you know, be sure to check out, you know, if you want more information and really want to dig deep and fact check about what I'm saying. So there is an American dentist named Weston A. Price, and I don't know if this was like in the 30s. Okay, it was a while ago. I don't know if it was the 30s or the 40s. He traveled around the world and he went to very remote places and he studied the traditional diets, right? So he went to remote places in Africa and Canada, the Polynesian Islands, in South America, in Europe, okay? And he went to places that were, a lot of them were very inaccessible. And he looked at the traditional foods they were eating, right? Um, and was some the ones he could find that were still remote, because at that time there was a lot of colonization still, but there were more remote populations in certain parts of the world back then than there are now. And so he really tried to get to them in like all the continents, right? And some of them might have been first generation eating what he called the white man's foods, and that was flour, vegetable oil, and processed sugar. You know, so people eating like donuts and for breakfast, and you know, all of that. And so what he saw was he would take the traditional foods that a lot of people, you know, these people ate, and he would analyze it in a laboratory, and he found that they were way higher in vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin K, a lot of fats than the foods that we were currently consuming. And he also noticed like how perfect their bone structures were, how perfect their eyesight was. Like the eyesight was better than 2020. Okay, just the condition, their entire condition. He also would study, uh, you know, skeletal remains as well in the laboratory. And so when he set out to do this, he really thought he was going to find populations on this planet that were eating a vegetarian diet, that weren't eating any animal foods, that were healthy. And he had to admit that he actually did not anywhere. Now, there are some parts of Africa where you have groups who don't eat a lot of animal foods, right? But that's because the things that they do eat, the animal foods they do eat, are so nutrient dense, and they're things that most of us would not consider acceptable. Okay, and that is things like shrimp paste, which tastes pretty bad to most people. Also insects, you know. Even when I was in Savannah, Georgia, they were selling chocolate covered cricket, or not crickets, but chocolate covered. They were selling chocolate covered insects in the stores in Savannah, Georgia, like it was M&Ms. And so yeah, insects. Also, when they did kill an animal, they ate all the organ meats, all of it, all of the organs, because the organs are what's super nutrient dense. And they would also consume the blood. And when you look around the world, you see cultures all around the world who made blood sausages. Anybody who's watching this video on YouTube, you can definitely comment below and tell me where you're from in the world and if the people in your family ate these things. Um, And we look at Anthony Bourdain, Parts Unknown, which is a really great show where he travels around not just the world, but he also travels around the United States as well. And you see the foods that people make, and you see a lot of cultures that he was in. They were making blood sausage, they were cooking organ meats. A lot of people eating pork, and that's something that you also find that was pretty common, unless it was a Muslim country. Like it was only Muslim populations that weren't eating pork. But if you looked all throughout the Caribbean, South America, North America, the Polynesian islands, Asia, a lot of Africa, Europe, people ate pork. That's like probably the number one thing in the world that you probably see people eating. And so you would see like those similarities. Another thing is bone broth. Bone broth is extremely important, and it's something that you see across all cultures, whether it be, Caribbean, South American, um, uh, in Europe and Asia, people taking the bones from the animals and simmering it down in the acid for a long time and making it into a broth. So you can do it from any animal, whether it be chicken, cows, lamb, goat, any animal. And chicken broth is considered medicine in probably everybody's culture. Very, very, very important. And it helps you to digest the meat better. It helps you to extract more nutrients from the food, even if it's just vegetables. Like you can extract more nutrients. Bone broth is really important for your bones and your digestive tract, and just like your skin, the collagen in your skin, and all of that. And so yeah, and so like you also see like. So the thing is, okay, so Weston A. Price, right, the man who I was telling you about, his book is called Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. So if you are really serious about like wanting to really learn about real nutrition, because we all hear so many different things, all these different theories, one thing I can tell you is that no study can uh, compete with the test of time. Okay, what we've seen over generations, what we have seen work over generations. So it is not true that people are living longer now than we ever have, but it is true that we are sicker now than we've ever been, and we think that it's normal. You know, we think that it's normal to have bad eyesight. Like so many people had bad eyesight. So many people have on contacts or they got the surgery, but that's not a normal thing. So many women have issues with childbirth. A lot of women have issues after childbirth where they're like, their postpartum is driving them fucking insane. And even eating the placenta, I think that a lot of that has to do with malnutrition. Okay, because in traditional societies, women went on special diets before they got pregnant, during their pregnancy, and after, because it takes a lot out of a woman. It takes a lot out of a woman. And if you don't put that in, the baby's gonna suck that out of you, and then now your hormones are all fucked up in your brain, and like you're just hallucinating and tripping and having all these, physical symptoms, and a lot of that is malnutrition. Okay, and there are women who have consumed their placenta, and they say that they might have had two kids. The first one they didn't do it, the second one they did, and they said, "Oh my God, I felt so much better." But a lot of people are eating low-fat diets. They're not eating organ foods. You have like eggs from any animal, chickens, ducks, but also fish eggs, very, very high in certain fats that are critically important, especially for that. But vitamin A, vitamin D, and so these are things that you see just traditionally across the world, and in healthy populations. Okay, and so yes, so and the thing is with the populations in Africa who consumed very little animal foods, but they consumed insects, they consume organ meats, and when you're consuming organ meats, you don't need a whole lot of flesh and other, because most people in America or over here, when we eat meats, it's more the flesh, and if you're eating it with no skin, which is not good, you want to have the skin, you want to have it on the bone, you want the fat, all of that, like when you skinless, boneless chicken breast is not good for you at all. There's a lot of issues with that. So having foods intact, having foods from local sources, critically important. And so the reason why I believe in traditional foods is because it's been shown to work over time. Okay, and science also confirms it. But if you learn nutrition in school, this is not what they tell you. We don't learn this in particular. We do learn the chemistry. And if somebody were to then take their critical thinking skills, which a lot of nutrition students don't do, and a lot of health science people don't do, but let's say nutrition, we learn the science and the chemistry and stuff. But then when it's time to go and learn what to tell people, we're told that coconut oil is bad, palm oil is bad, saturated fats are bad. Consume these polyunsaturated fats like sunflower oil and safflower oil and the canola oil, which is totally not good for you. We're told that cholesterol is bad, and none of that is true. The science says the exact opposite. There are low cholesterol diets. People who are on low cholesterol diets die a lot sooner. They have more heart attacks. Cholesterol is an antioxidant. And cholesterol is not the cause of heart disease or heart attacks. That is a lie as well. And I have YouTube videos about that, about fats, about cholesterol being an antioxidant. But if you also, definitely check out the book Nutrition and Physical Degeneration by Weston A. Price, and also Sally Fallon. Okay, Sally Fallon, who's written a lot of really important books as it pertains to traditional foods and traditional fats and stuff like that. I mean, it's something I could talk about for a long time. And I do have other videos on my YouTube page where I'm talking about each of these things for a long time. I'm just compressing it. But another thing that we see across cultures and across the world is fermented foods, okay? All cultures had some sort of fermented food. Whether it be like something like kimchi, which Koreans have, or Mexicans have cortado. They're fermented vegetables. But then there's also, in the United States, sauerkraut, not sauerkraut, relish and ketchup traditionally was a fermented condiment. So fermented condiments, fermented drinks, very important. Sour creams, yogurts, cheeses, those are fermented because we really need that good bacteria. It's critically important. And so that is something that all cultures had. And when cultures did consume grains, because there are a lot of cultures who consume grains, they had to prepare them properly. And nowadays, like the wheat that people consume, it's like some genetically modified crap, and then it's not prepared properly. And when it's not, wheat can cause a lot of issues. It can pull nutrients out of our system. It can cause, lead to autoimmune issues, issues with our bones, issues gaining too much fat. So grains have to be prepared properly. They need to be soaked properly for hours, and that's really, really important. So the food preparation of traditional methods is very important. And so I believe in traditional foods because it's just shown to work over generations. Okay, things like talking about like a raw food diet, it's a scientific fact that when humans started eating cooked food, our brains got bigger and we got smarter. Okay. I don't like to think that humans are like above other animals. Like a lot of people think that. I don't like to think that, but at the same time, we have uniqueness about us because we are the ones who decide that I want to go diving. I want to go scuba diving deep in the ocean and be down here with the fish. You don't see the fish coming up in your house swimming around in your face at night. You don't, right? But we as humans think we can do that. We as humans get on big boats and start sailing across the water and disturbing the peace. We as humans are always on airplanes up in the sky. So whatever lives up in the sky is like, here they go again, right? All the other animals are not putting themselves in vehicles to be all up in our face. So humans, okay, do a lot of, invasive controlling things. We're the ones that manipulate the land. We're the ones that's cutting down trees to build the suburbs. And you have, huge parking lots in the suburbs, all these freaking strip malls. I hate the suburbs, okay? I like the city or the country, preferably the city, the country for a day trip, right? Taking you back to the city, because everything is close. But the suburbs is like so ridiculous because you have these huge strip mall after strip mall after strip mall. Every single strip mall has a huge parking lot. So people can park their cars and half the spaces aren't even taken. And so that's a lot of trees that you're cutting down just for parking lots and space of fucking nothing, right? Um, Humans are the ones that are doing that. You don't see other animals doing that. Humans are straight just inhabiting on other animals' land, just chopping it down. And then when the wild animals are in your backyard, people freak out. So humans do a lot of things like that. So while I don't want to say that humans are smarter than other animals, because in a lot of ways we're not, but in terms of doing stuff like that, and that started happening after we started eating cooked food. Okay, like all over the world, fire was a big deal. And you don't see any culture anywhere in the world that's saying to eat on a raw food diet. And people that eat like that, a lot of times they don't have a glow and they look, not strong. It's not good. It's not good. It's not backed by traditions. And this is the reason why. Sorry, this is the reason why. When it comes to pork, I always talk about this, and I'm gonna do a different video on pork. I did one before, but my YouTube page was deleted, my old one. But a lot of the people who are the oldest, who live to be the oldest in the world, every time they do an interview with the oldest person that ever lived, I mean, that's alive right now, and they ask them what they ate, they always say they ate pork. They always say that, okay? And like I said, it's the Okinawa in Japan, who are the longest living, healthiest people in the world. They cook with lard every single day. If you go to any Japanese restaurant, it's, even the ramen, it's pork broth, and pork. Koreans, pork. All the people that I know from down south who live to be over 95, they eat pork. Cuba, pork. Haiti, same thing. When I went to Haiti 2 months after the earthquake in 2010, I had never seen people that were that strong, okay, well built. A lot of Haitian people were very well built and strong, even like elderly women, strong. And when I was in Haiti, we had to eat what they gave us. And there were some white girls who were on the trip who were like vegan. They were just eating bread the whole time. But they had to eat what they gave us, and it was always pork, okay? And so South America, the Polynesian Islands, and you see people, like a lot of Americans think that the French diet is bad, but the French consume lots of butter, heavy cream, a lot of, cheese, like stuff that's heavy fat that Americans think is fattening. But the French don't have a problem with heart disease or cancer or obesity or none of that. Okay. So this is extremely important, traditional foods. And I'm going to do some more in-depth videos. I already have some on my YouTube page. One is called All About Fat. One that about cholesterol, a couple about, veganism, one called Sacred Animal Foods. Definitely you can check those videos out. And I'm going to do some new ones. And the thing I was going to say real quick about the African, because I remember there's one thing I forgot to say. The African groups that did not eat a lot of animal foods, but they did eat some because nobody was completely vegan. But the groups of Africans who ate a small percentage of animal foods, who ate organ meats, insects, blood, shrimp paste, those are high in fat soluble activators like vitamin A. So when you're consuming that, you don't have to consume as much fat as somebody else. But if you're not eating that, if you're not eating a lot of organ meats, insects, shrimp paste, blood, then you need a lot of fat, okay? And so I'm gonna get more into that in future videos. So if you are on Instagram and if you're on Instagram and you don't follow me on YouTube, you can find me at The Body Scientist 81. And if you're on YouTube, follow me on Instagram at _body_scientist. And thanks for listening. If you learned something, please like the video, share the video, and definitely please comment. I'd love to hear from people from different parts of the world. Tell me, the age, how old people live to be in your family and what they ate. And if any of the things that I resonate, a lot of people, I don't care where they're from, they've seen their grandparents chewing on bones and eating the marrow. Have you seen that, and where are you from? And how old did those grandparents live to be? So definitely share those stories below on my YouTube page. And I'm always available to work with clients. You can always email me at thebodyscientist81@gmail.com. So it's thebodyscientist81@gmail.com. And I have some more videos to report on Colombia and the food. So new videos coming soon. Hope you guys doing good. Have a good day. Bye.